Hi everyone, hope you're doing well. Today's topic that we're going to talk about is leg length differences. So this is literally referring to when we have one leg that is longer than the other. So the argument that is proposed is that having one leg longer than the other makes our pelvis tilt down on one side, so kind of leaning. That can cause pressure into our pelvis or like a curve, some pressure going up through the spine. Muscles have to overcompensate or weak or stronger on one side or the other, be over or underactive, and this causes back pain. All right, and it's what this argument is saying is that you can take someone who has back pain, you can assess their leg length, and if they have one leg longer than the other, you can treat it, and that's going to resolve some or all of their back pain. And even though it's quite a convincing story, there are several issues with this, and I'm going to start with the most obvious one. Okay, so I think I mentioned this before, but going by the current most up-to-date statistics on back pain, we know that about 90% of back pain is called multifactorial. So it's made up of loads and loads of separate factors. There is not a single factor that is causing it. So that's 90%. We then have about 5%, which is due to some sort of structural change, like what we call a spondylolisthesis, which is where the vertebrae stack on top of each other and one just slips forwards. Okay, and that can happen for a number of reasons, or like a fracture. Just under 5% is due to pathology, like an infection, and then less than 1% or thereabouts is due to some nasty stuff. All right, so about 90% of people have the same type of back pain, this multifactorial type. And we know that if you don't have any illness or structural damage, all right, then you must be within that 90%. So if you're in the 9% of people, a leg length difference alone cannot explain why you have back pain, because it's multifactorial, okay? And just by treating your leg length difference, you're not going to make a significant long-term difference to that person. All right, so you've got to remember, again, 90% of back pain is multifactorial. It has to have multiple factors explain why it's there. And when it comes to multifactorial low back pain, we know that you've got to consider sleep, you've got to consider overall activity levels, you've got to consider stress. There's so many things. You can't just check someone's legs and be like, there's the difference, that's why you've got pain, let's treat that, this person's better. It just doesn't work like that. And even if leg length difference was relevant to somebody, it's only ever going to be one piece of the puzzle, all right? It's only going to be one of the multitude of factors, okay? So even if your legs are like that and you treat somebody and they go like that and they stay like that, there's still going to be loads of other things that have got to be treated to get that person better long term, all right? And we also need to consider the research that has found that people who have a leg length, we also need to consider the research where there's found that people with and without low back pain have leg length differences. So this means that it could have been there before you had back pain, in which case it's probably not relevant. All right? And that same research has actually said there is no correlation between having a leg length difference and back pain. So why would there be? If you can have back pain and have a leg length difference and not have back pain and have a leg length difference, it's probably not relevant at all. We also need to remember that, we don't all just fit into this kind of, no one's that perfect model that you see in the textbooks. Everybody is different shapes and sizes, and that's just how we are. So of course human beings have different length legs. I would imagine that if you examined every single person on the planet, they would have different length legs, whether it's like a millimeter difference or 5 centimeters difference. There will probably be a difference in almost everybody in the world. All right, so that is my first issue with leg length difference. The second issue is that we actually don't have a reliable way to test whether or not people even have one. So if we say, all right, yeah, leg length differences can cause low back pain, how do we test it to find reliably if people do or don't have them? Well, there was a study that came out in 2017, and what they did was they got 2 clinicians. Between these 2 clinicians, they had over 30 years experience treating people with back pain. So that's like 15 years experience each. That's a lot of experience. And they wanted these clinicians to test these people to see if they've got leg length differences. So one clinician tested the group of people, the next clinician then tested the group of people, and what they did was they then compared their answers. So if they got all of the same answers, if everyone said, yes, this person's leg length is on short, this person's leg is short on the right, and that person's leg is short on the left, and both answers agreed, that means that the way of testing is reliable. So what they did, they tested all these people. They then came back and looked through the answers. Can you guess how many patients these two clinicians could agree on who had the same leg length differences? None. They could not agree on a single patient. All right. So if clinicians who've got like around 15 years experience can't reliably say, yes, the right leg is shorter than the left leg, it's just not gonna, if you've got no way of testing for it, you can't reliably say, yes, this is involved in back pain. All right, so this means that if you've been to see somebody in the past who says, oh, you're shorter on the right leg, it stands to reason that if you then go see another therapist, they will then say, no, you're shorter on the left leg, based on that statistics, based on that study. So what this means is not only does research tell us that leg length difference is probably not related to back pain, but even if it is related to back pain, we have no way of knowing which of a patient's legs is short because we can't accurately test for it. All right. Now, I can stretch to the idea that maybe it plays a role in multifactorial low back pain. So maybe it does play a role amongst a multitude of other things. You know, leg length differences will make your muscles and joints move differently. There'll be tension in other areas. So yeah, I could get my head around how it might play a role. But even if I say to a patient, oh, actually, yeah, I'm confident you're shorter on that right leg, it's not even very helpful because you can't permanently change how long your legs are. So it's a problem that doesn't have a solution, right? So, but if I was to say to somebody, you know, I actually, from what you've said, I think that it sounds like you're not getting very good sleep. And I think that's going to be one of the factors that contributes to your back pain. That's helpful because we know how to get better sleep. There's processes that we can put in place to allow ourselves to get better quality night's sleep. So at the Movement Studio, we only ever get our clients to focus on stuff that is strongly correlated with back pain and that they can positively change. Because finding stuff that we can work on is the only way for us to help you move from being in pain to being in control of your pain. All right. So focusing on the more important stuff gives you the best return for your efforts. And for me, leg length difference just isn't going to be one of these. I've never got to a point with a patient where we've gone, yeah, you can do all those other things. Let's spend our time treating your leg length. Because if they focus on all the other stuff, chances are their pain's gone away anyway. So there's no reason, there's no need to start trying to work on their leg length. All right. So I hope you guys have enjoyed my rant on leg length difference. This is one that really, really bugs me, in case you couldn't tell, because I just hear it told to patients so much as being the sole reason why they've got back pain, and the research says that it's just not the direction that you should be going. So I hope you guys found that helpful. As always, we love to hear from you, so keep posting your questions in the group so that we can all engage in that healthy discussion. Let me know if there's anything that you want me to cover, and I'll catch up with you all next time.